Lab guy here. This is the coil rewinding rig that I have designed and put together very quickly. It took a few days to think about how to build something that's simple, because it's only going to be used this one time. The orthocon focus coil connections are broken at its contacts on this reel, and they're broken on the inside. So to get to them, to get to the one contact and repair it, I have to take all of this wire off of this form and store it, repair the contacts, reconnect it, and then re-spool the wire and attempt to get it this nice. I hope I can do this by hand. I know it's going to be slow, but that's okay, because if this fails, I'll have to find a motor rewinding shop or a solenoid rewinding shop that can handle a coil this big, and that understands that it's made of Bakelite and you can break it with your mind. So this is not going to be an easy job. Let's take a quick look at how it's put together. The end, what I call the end plates, this one and this one, are made from circuit boards, old unused circuit boards that you can buy surplus. They've never been stuffed with components. I call this stuff nerdwood because I'm a nerd, and I use this stuff like most sane people use plywood. So in conjunction with the circuit board, I also use 1/4 inch threaded rod. You get this down at your local hardware store. You can buy it in any length really, and it's great stuff. And so to assemble everything, I simply lined up the pieces and clamped them, drilled the 2 holes, 1/4 inch holes in this case, for the rods, and bolted everything together with nuts and washers, and that's what's holding it together. This coil also has a 1/4 inch rod going through it, so the upper part of these 2 uprights is supported. The take-up spool sits on a wooden dowel and is free to move back and forth, so that as I unwind the wire, we can track the larger coil. And so that's how this simple machine will work. And the greatest benefit is that after its one-time use to repair this focus coil, I can take it apart. It folds down flat, goes into my regular scrap box, and the rods go in there too, and someday in the future I can build something else from it. So the material's not wasted. Another feature that I'd like to point out is that as the wire unspools from this form, it needs to have some tension held on it to keep it taut. So what I've done, I don't know if we can see it, but we'll try. Right down in between the end plate and this upright, I placed a series of metal and rubber washers, and by adjusting the compression on this nut, it adjusts the tension on this reel. It no longer spins. And in fact, I've set it for about 3 or 4 pounds of back force. That'd be a couple of kilograms of back force, so that when I'm unwinding this and I tug it abruptly, which happens, that it doesn't freewheel and dump more wire. And so at least that's the attempt. Now this reel is completely free, and whenever I take a break, I have strategically placed a couple of pieces of very strong gaffer's tape, and I'll simply tape the wire lead to the sidewall of the spool while I rest. So a machine can't get much simpler than that. So that's my strategic thinking, and soon we'll see if this thing turns out to be practical, because I expect to be sitting here turning the spool for over an hour at a minimum. to strip off the tape now. Now the trick here is to keep the tension on. Oh boy. I only have 2 hands. There we go. Oh good. Won't be all of it. Ah! Get off my hands. If I let go of that, it could unwind. Alright, back to the winding. That's not good. It appears that we've found some corrosion encrusting this wire, and this may be where the coil is open. This could save us some time. It is conveniently at the end of the coil. So if that is where it's open, I will not have to unwind any more of this coil. That's great news. Well, I wasn't recording when the wire broke. So I immediately slapped on a piece of tape to keep the rest of it from unwinding. The good news is this was the bottom layer, thank goodness. So it's not broken at the contact, it appears to be broken here. I'm going to verify that with the ohm meter. I was starting to get a reading when the wire broke. So it's broken in the middle. How unexpected. Okay. Nothing. Oh boy. We're still open. That's bad. Alrighty, the plan is to scrape the varnish insulation off of the wires, place some heat shrink over them first, scrape the varnish off the wires, solder them together in an overlap, and then cover them back up with heat shrink. Well, first we prepare the wire. There's a varnish coating that's an insulator that needs to be removed, and I use a scraper. Alright, now come on. mats together. Now we put the heat shrink tubing and hit it with the heat gun. Good for another 70 years. Alright, we're ready to resume unrolling the focus coil. I'd like to say this is fun, but I'd be lying. It's challenging. And we are at the end. I hope, oh Lord, we are not at the end. It's not the end at all. Okay. Let's see here, turn it. There it is. Oh no. It's some sort of paper. This is not good. It's quite rotten. I see. There we go. Lovely. Alrighty then. We're at the halfway point. Well, I was given false hope by a piece of paper. A piece of paper covered this up and made me think I had reached the end of the windings, but unfortunately we're halfway. So this process will continue, and we'll keep recording. There's some more of that paper. I want to see if there's more copper under it. There is. There's 2 more windings under this. Wow, this is a lot of work. Wow. Right, and that's where the paper starts. We'll have to cut that out and splice the wire. That will occur just like before. Alrighty then, the wire is spliced. You can see the red heat shrink, and we just keep unwrapping. There is a bad spot here that's in the next layer down, and all of that will have to be cut out. There it is. That's the end of it. And it's corroded off. There's the end of the wire. There's the crud that was on it, and you see it's not attached. And we're at the end. It has lost its stick. Alright.